Hey, it's Mary Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. I'm bringing you another special edition of 5 Takeaways today on Pet Remembrance Day. Today, we take some time to remember the companions who left a lasting impact on our lives. In the world of cinema, pets have played vital roles, capturing our hearts with innocence, charm, and loyalty. However, when that journey ends on screen, it can be emotionally devastating. So I put together my top 5 most impactful on-screen pet losses. Our first film is I Am Legend. This 2007 film starring Will Smith as Robert Neville in a post-apocalyptic world. His only companion is his loyal German Shepherd, Sam. I'm going to take a minute to remember another German Shepherd by the name of Rocky. Rocky was my grandfather's dog growing up, and while I don't have a lot of memories of him, I do remember stories about how he let my older sister step on his head to get on the couch. And I remember my grandmother sipping on her Pepsi in her velvet nightgown, smoking cigarettes, yelling about that damn dog. R.I.P. Rocky. We miss you so much. Number 4, I have Never Ending Story. In this classic 1980s fantasy film directed by Wolfgang Petersen, our hero Atreyu enters the swamp of sadness with his horse Artax. I remember watching this scene for the first time like it was yesterday. I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest watching that horse sink lower and lower into that quicksand. As another side note, am I the only one who thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger issue growing up than it is? I feel like between this movie, while it's a swamp and not so much quicksand, but this movie and The Princess Bride and some others, I really felt like I was going to need to know how to handle some quicksand. However, life has taught me how to handle hopelessness and depression, which is what the swamp of sadness was, right? You try to fight it, you get sadder, it sinks you lower. Now we know that the childlike empress protected Atreyu from the swamp of sadness, but watching Atreyu lose his horse was just heartbreaking. Next up is number 3. I have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Here we lose Hedwig in the Battle of the Seven Potters. Now, Hedwig may not be a traditional pet. While we're used to furry companions, Hedwig has proven himself over and over. Hedwig was actually the very first birthday present that Harry Potter ever received in his whole life. I believe there is a big difference between how this death is portrayed in the books than in the movie, but according to my 11-year-old, the movie did not do this loss justice. We'll miss you, Hedwig. Thanks for everything. All right, our runner-up is All Dogs Go to Heaven. The second, technically third, German Shepherd on our list, we have Charlie. Charlie has escaped from the dog pound in New Orleans and he is up to no good. He meets up with some other no good dogs and they're trying to pull off this huge scheme. He meets a little girl who is also an orphan named Anne Marie. Now, watching this movie growing up, I don't know about you, but I have had the best time with it. I remember quoting, "Touch that clock and you can never go back," a ridiculous amount of times. My poor parents probably were so sick of that movie, I can't even imagine them watching again today. If you haven't seen this one, I highly recommend it. I'm not going to go too far into the loss of Charlie because even though this came out in 1989, I don't want to spoil it for you. Grab a pack of tissues and check this one out. I will always stand by my number 1 forever. I have Turner and Hooch coming in at the number 1 most heartbreaking spot in history of pet losses on screen. Tom Hanks plays Scott Turner, who has 3 days left on his local police department before heading off to the big city. I think that his type A personality and no nonsense attitude is just too much for Cypress Beach. Now, in this story, we see Scott go visit an old friend, Amos Reed, who then in the subsequent scenes is murdered. The only near witness is Amos's dog, Hooch, who Scott Turner then has to care for to find any leads in his friend's murder. Mick and I watched this recently, and I have to say, it really does hold up to the test of time. I love this movie so much. From beginning to end, I think it's one of the funniest movies ever, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly, highly recommend it. But again, You're going to need at least one box of tissues and maybe a box of chocolates afterwards. These films remind us of the love that we have for our pets. I know firsthand how difficult it is to lose a pet. We lost our Ramrod a number of years ago. On this Pet Remembrance Day, he definitely gets a special shout out. He really was the best boy, and we miss him dearly. Thank you for joining us honoring the unforgettable pets on the silver screen. We hold these dear in our hearts. Stay classy, be kind, and remember, no matter how much you may miss them, stay away from Pet Cemetery. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and see you later.